once upon a time, over this way, Crippin, nah. You know, it wasn't like that. People didn't take. That's why we were so busy staying out in Compton with this Crippin thing, because to come this way, you had a lot of beef. You had a lot of, because a lot of people still had ties to the Nickerson Gardens. And they had ties for whatever reason. Going over there to go skating, going over there, with dudes that they was messing with. So the ties between Crippin and this side of town wasn't that good. My little brother and them, they kept on banging it, and we'd come over here, and slowly but surely the progression, you had Pee Wee Dixon, you had a little brother called Cool Crip, these dudes started emerging, and they was with this, because now they're our offspring, they're hanging around us so much more, and they chose this. It wasn't like everybody make it seem like they didn't have no other way to go but Crippin. No, they chose to Crip. It wasn't like Crippin was so strong at the time, because it was still just a handful of Crips in the Watts area. And those Crips started on 105th and Wilmington, that handful of Crips, and we didn't even really come this way. We didn't come this way till much later, after we went to Compton first, because we didn't think we could do anything here. Tyrone Tate moved over on Hickory, and they began Hickory Watts. Joe Turner on the other side of Hickory had Hickory Watts. When they band together, then you had the JDC come into existence. So now you got more Crips in Watts. When they band together, now you got the PJ Watts. They started messing with Anthony Baylock, they big homeboy. We always had a relationship. We was tight. He had a relationship with Gary McGowan. Gary McGowan's sister till he got a baby by her. So all that emerged. And now you got all these people just coming together. So it's not like Crippin had a hole. Crippin gained a hole. It gained a hole. It didn't take a hole in the first, because a lot of people wasn't with it. A lot of people didn't want it over here.
Peter on Dusttown came out in the early 90s, you know what I'm saying? And, as far as Peter Road, you know what I'm saying? Like, they got a big stronghold in the Jordan Down, you know what I'm saying? They like the biggest clique over here, you know what I'm saying? Like, they was Peter Road Squad, then it transitioned to Peter Road Mafia, but you still got the original people over here that's still Peter Road Squad. They didn't make the transition, you know what I'm saying? Dusttown, we came out, you know what I'm saying? We came out from the big OG homies from Eastside Kids on Geo. They started us, like, so, I've been from Dusttown since 11, so we started off Dusttown Crib, some of the older homies, Dusttown Hustlers, but eventually we Dusttown Hogs right now, you know what I'm saying? Then we got Scabby Squad. Scabby Squad was a clique originally made for Dusttowns and Peter Roads can be in the same clique at the same time type shit, you know what I'm saying? We got Who Kids, like I said, the East Side Kids with the older homies, even go Tiny Lokes back in those days, and like it was all type of stuff going on. But as far as these days, yeah, we got some stuff, man. Dusttown Hogs, you know what I'm saying? Like Other Side Beasts, like Gutter Gang, Gutter Goons, Fresh Boy Gutter Goons, Backyard Gutter Goons. You feel me? Like Young Nigga Movement on Grape, like Who Kids. Like, we got all that type shit, like,
Is it fair to say there's at least 20 cliques in Grape?
Yeah, hell yeah. Watts Baby Low Crip, that's really not a clique per se over here. Like, really, if you became from Grape from the years after Watts Baby Low Crip basically took over around here, then you from Watts Baby Low Crip, like, off top, like, you feel me, like, that come with Grape Street, so that's how it is, like, right now.
Back in the day, the guys from the Nickersons had a big influence on what was going on in the Jordan Downs.
Right.
How was that? Because the Nickersons is bigger, there's more people? Or?
No, it's because they had a relationship. Some of the guys who were here, who who were influential over here, you know, they would go over there, and so they had a relationship back and forth. So that relationship kind of stayed, and it wasn't like the influence that they had said that you couldn't be, but a lot of people didn't do it because they were afraid. You know, we wasn't afraid. You know, I was a Crip, that's what I was gonna be. So I wasn't afraid of that. You know, I was always outside of that. You know, I did a lot of juvenile hall time as a kid. So when I would come back, you know, I would see the difference in how things was. And in juvenile hall, I went to camp, I went to all that. So every time I would come back, I would see people and they'd be different. So now I see the difference in how people were transitioning and how the transition was going, who was going to Crip and who wasn't, and how this really, for a while, you can see that people didn't want that, you know, but they knew they couldn't stop it. You know, you couldn't stop it because we were on the move. We campaigned. We took Crippin. We campaigned. We went places. We campaigned this. We had the love of this. We campaigned it. When we landed in your neighborhood, we was campaigning. Just like Donald Trump campaigning, we campaigned with this, man. We took this everywhere. We took it to suburbs, and we made it look so good that people brought it. My youngest brother, Crow, which is, you know,
GIP.
which is Grape Street.
That's Kenny Day.
Kenny Day. That's Crow. He is Grape Street. He is the father. He, you know, that's his. This is his baby. This is his baby. Would he like what he see? He wouldn't be upset about it, but he wouldn't like it. He wouldn't like what it is, because that's not. He always had that unification. That's how he was. You know, he was the last. He was the last of 5 brothers, and so he always wanted things to come together. He had done this Grape Street thing for a long time. It didn't blossom off a grape for a certain time, but he had the Grape Street thing had been going on ever since we moved on Grape. He had this. We moved on the street that was predominantly Hispanic. It was predominantly Hispanic. WVG was there when we get there. So now we make it our niche. We black on the street. We own Grape. We pour the grape. We are Grape. You know, we the only blacks. We're not the only blacks on there, but we the only blacks claiming this right now. So therefore, he built that. Him, Pete Howard, and there is. Wow, man, we had families. The Brims. All these people really built this. Crow's generation, the Baby Lokes. That's his generation. Now, they start right over here at where we had the Young People of Watts. There was a park right there on 107th and Wilmington. Well, that's where they started courting in. And it was all the streets surrounded around there. All those streets right around there. This is where it began. Now, they're building, and the JDCs are starting to kind of fizzle out. So now that he done start transitioning these Baby Lokes, them Baby Lokes live over here, but they was coming over there. Now, hey, why not? And they transitioned over here. And when it transitioned over here, whoa. You know, hey, you never seen nothing like it. Well, them early first years, it wasn't all smooth, you know, because we had to get our respect first, you know, because, hey, we're a black family, and you got 5 boys moving on there. They ain't taking too lightly to that, you know. They're looking at like, man, who these niggas, you know. They wanted to fill us out like we wanted to fill them out, because we wasn't sitting in no yard type of Negroes. We going out. So for them, that on like, hey man, you know, we in their way like they in our way. So my brother, one of my brothers got in a fight. I wasn't there, but I was told about the fight. And then then baby Honcho, you know, he whooped one of them with a whip, with a bull whip. So from that moment on, they understood these ain't the ones. You know, these ain't the ones. You might find some other, but these is heathens right here. And we just start building a bond between us. A lot of us got WVG tattoos. That's you. That's who you are. You know, and we don't. And I think some try to hide that fact. You know, some of them act like that's a bad thing. That ain't a bad thing. That's who we are. This is where we come from. You know, and people act like that's a bad thing. No, in in LA, probably this is the only area where blacks and browns really do things together. This is probably the only area where we do things together like we do. I mean, we can eat together, we can play together, we can do a lot of things in this area. Now, when you go to LA, you don't see that. You don't see gangs where they really got that common bond where they're together. Because you see Southside Grape and us, we are one. See, and it's not enough said about that.
Now, is it true that in 1986, 87, when the Watts Baby Lokes came out, that was representing the brothers separating from the Mexicans and kind of saying, you know what, we're not riding Watts Vadio no more. Y'all cool, but this is now we're really taking it a different direction.
People say that, but is that the truth? No, it ain't the truth. You know, we already was being separate. You know, Grape Street made us separate. Watts Vadio Watts was Watts Vadio Watts. When we tagged Grape Street, we separated ourselves from the Vadio. We were Grape Street Watts. That done it right there. The Baby Lokes became, because that's what it is. What happened was with the Baby Lokes, leadership faulted itself, failed. All right, you became a Baby Loke. That's when you came in. You got Baby Lokes who are 50. They shouldn't have been a Baby Loke at 50. They should have went on to something else. But that's what happens when your leadership faults. That's when we come up with all these different sets in one neighborhood. You know, you got all these different sets because now you didn't have leadership. But it's not just Grape Street. When you go to A Trade, when you go to 60s, when you go to all these different hoods around here, you find all these different facets in their neighborhoods. Why is that? Leadership fault. Leadership went to jail. Leadership either became drug infested. So that's what happened even in Grape. We didn't get detached from none of that.
Now, when you started Grape, where was the Watts Baby Loke sort of identity when you joined? Was it still pretty powerful, or was it already waning?
It already took over. Like, it was powerful.
Yeah.
When I joined, like, you feel me? It was already took over. Like,
And how about up to now?
it still took over. Like, Baby Loke ain't going nowhere. Like I say, Baby Loke is Grape Street. Like, it ain't even like no separate thing about it. Like, all these young niggas, I don't care if they got a gang, got a goons, you feel me, and got all they new shit going on. They still Baby Lokes. I don't give a fuck how they see it. Like,
Right.
when you from Grape, you from Baby Loke. Then you choose what clique you want to be a part of after that. Like, but you got to be from this before you can get to that. You got older homies that started Dusttown. That was ESK. That was Watts Vadio Grape Pilot. You know, back in them days. You see what I'm saying? But like he was saying, how they some people didn't evolve. Like, they stayed the same. Like, they evolved with the times. You know what I'm saying? So that's how they ended up starting us and watching us evolve. And, you know, now you got a lot of this new stuff going on. Like, you know, when I first got put on Dusttown, like, we was the majority in the Jordan Downs. We was the #1 clique, like, you know what I'm saying, around here. If you was elementary, junior high, high school, you was from Dusttown, like, you know what I'm saying? So, but, you know, over the years, things start to happen, you know what I'm saying? And so, and it became like, our hood has always been evolving. We always been an evolving hood, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this hood gonna stay evolving. When we long and gone, like, they gonna have some new stuff, like, coming out, like, and they gonna be looking at these young niggas we looking at, and they gonna be like, you niggas old and washed up, and we doing this now, like, so it's always gonna be like, it's the projects, like, you feel me? It's always gonna be like that. Me personally, I fuck with the Southside Grape Streets, you know what I'm saying? My cousin Fish from Southside Grape Street, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, like, I fuck with them. I love the Southside Grape Streets. Like, at the end of the day, they purple rags, you know what I'm saying? They Grape Street just like us. They share the hood with us in the projects and on the back streets, you know what I'm saying? Ooh, we all got the same hood call, you know what I'm saying? Like, we are really like one, you know what I'm saying? Like, it really ain't no separation. The only time it's really a separation is when you start going to the jailhouse and all that, and you dealing with all that type of politics. But, you know, other than that, like, on the streets, like, you know, everything, it's all love.
Now, you mentioned Gary McGowan earlier. That's the brother from the Nickerson Gardens.
Well, no, Gary ain't from Nickerson Gardens. He was from over there by Mona Park.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Gary McGowan, yeah.
So talk a little bit about him and how you came across knowing him.
Well, Gary McGowan, I used to go over there by Mona Park, and I used to go everywhere. So I met Gary over there at Mona Park. I met Gary through Gary Thomas and a few others, because I go through there and just, when you're Crippin, you go everywhere. You want to meet Crips from everywhere. So I wanted to do that. And then, Gary he was a legend. He was a legend. Him and Took looked alike. So that's what kept them both together. They was both big dudes, and they come through everywhere. And Gary really brought Took a lot of places, and a lot of people would say that Gary gave Took a pass, because he was that big. Gary McGowan was that big. He was that big in his name, not just big in his size, but he was big in that anybody knew. If you had a beef with Took, you was gonna have a beef with Gary, and a lot of people didn't want that beef. Gary used to be in the Nixon Gardens. He used to be everywhere. When they wanted to bring peace, shit would get out of control. Bob Simmons would kind of be like the narrator, and Took would be, hey, Took would always bring us together. I can remember one time Raymond might have come to one, because see, Raymond was in jail quite a bit. These people wanted to keep Raymond off the streets. They wanted to keep that leadership, because when he was out, we had good leadership. Nobody taught or nobody gave leadership like Raymond Washington. Nobody gave leadership like him, and so they kept him in. But most of the time, when there was something going on in Compton, in order to bring it to quiet it down, there would be a meeting at the Red House, and Took would be instrumental in everything was going. Even though he was from the West Side, because he was there, and he was like, next to Raymond, there was Took. So he would be the one to help us quiet things down. And that Red House would be a place where even the other side knew they can go. And there wasn't gonna be no beef.
What was the early relationship between y'all and the Pyrus?
It was bad. It wasn't. We never had a good relationship with Pyrus.
Is it true that Mac Thomas didn't like those guys?
He hated them guys. Yeah, he hated them guys. It's like we was always good with Puddin', Sylvester Scott, because he went to school with us. He was in the class with us. He was always a practical joker. Back when we was going to school, me, Max, Sylvester was in the same class. We laughed together. We done a whole lot of things together. But then, when I guess they moved from the Nickersons to Pyru Street, hey, it became a different thing. Now we Crippin', he's a Pyru. So that made us not get along, And Mac had a hate for Pyru because they, who was it? LB? No, it wasn't LB. One of them shot his brother. Shot his brother twice. So he couldn't stand Pyru. It just wasn't happening. He couldn't stand Pyru Street. He couldn't stand Ludus Park Pyru. He had a hate for him. But there were times when we had peace out in Compton, and we got along.
Thanks for watching StreetTV.net. If you're not subscribed, please hit that button below and click the bell to receive alerts and notifications. Feel free to comment below so you can give us your feedback, and be sure to watch the 2 related episodes to the right. If you want to support this platform or follow us on social media, visit the links in the description, and thanks for watching StreetTV.net.